Hey folks, welcome to another episode of AWS On Air. My name is Adrian San Miguel. I'm a principal partner enterprise architect at AWS and met with and partnered with yet again my good friend AM. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm home from all of the reInvent fun. I taking stock of what I missed while I was gone. How about you? What are you up to, buddy?
Well, more of the same. Resting my dogs from putting on something like 8 to 10, sometimes 12 miles a day at reInvent. In my downtime, I was able to help out with the ALS Society on the Jane Cairn Scholarship Fund, and folks were cool enough to send me a guitar, the great PRS behind me, and getting ready for what's left of the month and getting into the holidays.
That's super cool. I dabble in guitars a little bit.
I can tell a little bit.
Just a little, like not very much. I definitely don't spend too much money and then get in trouble for spending too much money on guitars.
Never.
But that's exciting. That's really cool. Glad that you were able to take care of that, Adrian. You have any highlights from your week at reInvent last week? We spent a lot of time together.
We did. That's
not a highlight, I'm sure.
Oh, it's actually highlight number 2 on the list, but since you spoiled it, all right, I'll get something else. Highlight number 1, we got to spend a lot of time talking about the cool things that make infrastructure relevant again. We talked about the Trainium 2 Ultra cluster. We talked about the custom tech that was put in to aggregate effectively 16 runs of fiber channel cable into a single one, allowing for better throughput. We talked about how we reduced latency, somehow sped up the speed of light by introducing vacuum to not make those crazy little photons bounce down the line. It really kind of harkened me back to being excited to being back in the data center for the first time in a long time. What's on your list?
Well, it just so happens that we're going to be talking about one of them today. I heard about the GitLab Duo with Amazon Q launch, and I thought, ain't she a beaut, Clark? And luckily, I get to be on the episode where we get to talk with him. So if you're joining us for the first time ever, welcome to the show. This is AWS OnAir. We're going to be talking about GitLab Duo with Amazon Q. But in general, on the show, we talk about all kinds of launches, what's been going on in service teams, all the things that we've been doing here for the past week. This is a weekly show after all. Welcome to everybody. I believe we're being featured in the UK and Canada, one of my favorite places, 2 of my favorite places, actually. I'm got a special place in my heart for Canada, though. So if you are live with us right now, we got chat open. I got chat pulled up over here to the side. I'm looking at it. If you have questions throughout the interviews today that we're going to be doing, we'll get them answered for you, right? So, I don't know. I got to shout out our really cool, what was it? D-SQL Aurora, right? The new kind of really interesting database that was launched at AWS at reInvent. If you haven't checked out D-SQL yet, I suggest checking that out. But now, for this episode, we're going to be talking GitLab Duo with Amazon Q. What do you think? Should we bring in our first guest?
We better before we have to tell them it's full. Let's do it.
Welcome to the show, Kyle. We are reunited, and it feels so good.
That's right. That was an awesome intro.
I was gonna say, do you have anything left to talk about? Can we just roll the clip?
That was it.
You can leave
I was gonna
right?
say, so I'm from Canada. We don't do maple syrup on spaghetti, even though popular culture might disagree.
Better than putting chili on spaghetti. I'm sorry to my friends from Ohio, but I can't get down with that.
Well, introduce yourself to the audience, Kyle. Who are you? What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? So I am Kyle Seaman. I'm a product manager with the Q team. I've been working building developer tools for a while now at Amazon, trying to figure out ways we can help our folks build stuff, put it on the cloud, have fun doing it. And got really lucky earlier this year. We started looking at kind of our ecosystem, where our customers spending time, where we could help them, and I signed up to get involved with the GitLab side because it was super exciting. So that's what I've been doing most recently.
Very cool. Yeah, you and I believe, met back for the first time at the Developer Innovation Day of 2022.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, which was, believe it or not, 12 years ago. Can you believe that? 12
Feels
years
like
ago.
it.
Feels it, doesn't it?
Just 2 years ago. But yeah, you get to work on all the stuff that I really deeply care about, because I am a developer myself. So every time we do something with dev tools, I kind of pay a little bit closer attention. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, we talked about some really cool stuff back then, but I'm excited to talk to you today about, look, I've been a fan of GitLab for a long time. Talk to us a little bit about what are we doing with GitLab?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, so GitLab is it's a very popular tool, source code management, but also they're really one of the leaders in sort of building out infrastructure for CI/CD and deployments and such like that. And turns out a lot of they're open source, which is really neat. And as a result, a lot of customers can deploy it into really weird spots on-prem in VPCs and a lot of different places so we have customers. It really appeals to a lot of our customers who just need more control over their source code and things like that. But also it's where as much as we like to think we're in the IDE writing code all day, a ton of work is done on the planning, the merge requests, leveling up code reviews, getting code into production, and troubleshooting and such. And we were talking to customers as Q is in the IDE and it's in places, it's in the AWS console, but we kept hearing it's like, yeah, but I spend a bunch of time on this particular tool. And by the way, it has a bunch of context about my company, my project, best practices. So what we started looking at was, how could we bring Q into that environment and what would make sense? And one of the big themes has been AI agents, this idea that like give an agent a task, a goal, like fix these unit tests and go. You also want guardrails and controls, and you also need a place where these can be run kind of autonomously, and how do you even work alongside of them? So I think that there's some really cool opportunities here to do this. So what we announced is a preview of bringing these Q capabilities into GitLab. We're specifically focusing on self-managed customers right now, those who are running it themselves in AWS environments. And I think there's a question around some licensing and things like that. We're starting with our ultimate customers, but the GitLab is working through sort of how we're going to package this up. So during the preview, this is for all ultimate customers, which is they have a couple tiers. Yeah.
That's actually pretty timely. There's a question in the chat actually from Interstellar 1122 asking, is GitLab Duo part of the ultimate licensing? And it sounds like that's a yes.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So Duo is an add-on, a separate kind of area, but Duo is today they have a Duo offering. Duo, think of it as like a CX for working with AI though. So our collaboration is going to be Duo with Q. And for the preview, that's available for all ultimate tier customers, separate from Duo specifically. It's Duo with Q. It's for all ultimate tier customers right now with self-managed.
Yeah, I'm like I mentioned, I've used GitLab. I think it's really great that you called out too that we're not all just sitting writing code all day. I actually get a ton of Slack pings throughout the day on my team of, hey, can you do this code review? Hey, you still haven't done that code review. Hey, go do the code review now, please. I get that a lot. So yeah, we are spending a lot of time in different areas outside the IDE, and I've spent some time. I've worked with runners in GitLab. You mentioned the source control in GitLab. That was Duo. this announcement is kind of the first time I'd heard of Duo as well. So as you just described it, Kyle, maybe dive a little deeper on that. Duo is just a way to add AI assistance into your regular workflows in GitLab. Is that right?
Yeah, so Duo is an existing product from GitLab today that can be bought. It has chat, it has some stuff, but we had a lot of Q customers who are like, hey, can you just make one thing for us? It's like one spot. So this is a specific flavor of Duo that's working closely, deeply integrated with Amazon Q. There's still another version of Duo that you can continue to use, and it's a great product for the GitLab all-up customers. But for our shared customers, we realized there was an opportunity for us to really collaborate on bringing this together. So the preview, which I'd love to show you some of, is really about bringing these AI agents in. So I can show you some of the stuff we're doing around review, code transformations, and things like that. We're working towards a lot more exciting stuff too. There's a preview, you can imagine, as we start to look towards bringing Q into GitLab.
It sounds like we probably want to bring up your screen here in just a minute. I'll ask as we're getting started too. Do I need to install any new tools I got to add to my GitLab environment to start using?
Yeah, it's a good question. So this is it's like pretty cool. We're actually doing we're co-engineering this with the GitLab team. It's been awesome working with them. What we have here, I'm showing you a version of this running. This is available on their public branch, GitLab's open source. You can see the work we're doing. You can build this. It'll be available in the January build as well. But we actually have now settings for this GitLab Duo with Q directly in GitLab. You can manage it, configure it. All you need is basically an IAM ARN for permissions. But once that's set up, your team doesn't need to worry about that. They get to use it directly. Let me show you what that means to use it actually. Yeah. So you brought up one of the areas. So again, the build they'll be rolling out for the self-managed offering, and you can see it in their branch as I mentioned. Here's an example. I wrote some pretty bad Java code, but let me show you like a quick way that this works. Is we've got these new Q quick actions. So these are available on the merge request. They're also available on issues, and from that I have a couple options. I can do this review, and what's really cool is this is going through.
Kyle, not to interrupt you, but I will anyway.
You're good.
I did love you putting the SQL statement into a string there. That was one of my favorite parts of your Java code.
Yeah, exactly. This is a non-Java programmer doing a demo on OnAir last minute. So hey,
I love it. It's great.
But what's cool about this is there's a couple areas. So it's obviously going to find the SQL injection. Fine, that's easy. We do other things though. We're thinking about the pipeline. Like, is this a breaking change? Have you changed the contract of an API from what it was before? Is there any infrastructure as code? Like, are you referencing something that hasn't been created? Are you missing tests? We want to help around confidence in the release side, as well as security, kind of the known scanning, the CWE kind of vulnerabilities of packages and such like that. And in this case, you're going to see of course, it's going to catch those other areas. So this is running. It takes a minute or two, and it comes back now. And thank goodness it found the issue that you brought up. But what's super cool, and where we're going with this is, I actually think the more exciting part is this idea of a fix, which is, especially as we start to make these more proactive. And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't want this to be weird inside of GitLab. We wanted to like kind of fit in with the GitLab review mechanism. Millions of developers use this page daily. We wanted this to fit in. So what we do is anytime Q is commenting, referencing, doing things, it's using the same APIs and the same interface as the developers. So this will come back with a fix in a minute or two, just like anyone on your team would suggest a change. So you can accept it or reject it. And
after
it's really
like
nice
6 or 7 Slack messages and a couple days of them asking you to review their code, right? Wait, no, Q does it. You said in a couple minutes. Oh, that's
yeah. So here it is. So it just came back. You can see it's in a threaded comment. Really nice. Not opening up new channels, coming in here, and you can actually see it's created a fix with a prepared statement, probably smarter than what I did, and you can just apply it from here. And so it's like the same way you kind of work with your team. So that's one area that we did with that. Another one I wanted to show you that I think is pretty cool. Well, actually, so it started here because it takes a minute or two. This is like a word guessing game. You may have played a 6-letter guessing game in the past, but it's a good demo I like to give where you can come into here and basically write a user story. And turns out a lot of people have a lot of backlog items. I've done this demo a couple times, so it's auto-completing. But you can include some stuff like, hey, French, German, Spanish, basically add new languages. It's English only. Let's make this work. It is neat if you're like exploring new tech, a new code base or something like that. And I showed you the Q one. We now have this Q dev. Anyone who's used it, Q in the IDE will be familiar with some of these slash commands. But what's neat about this is now we're taking the project context, the whole code base, the history, commits, as well as this issue, and Q's going to crank on that. So we can come back in a few minutes. But yeah, it'll make a PR, an MR directly integrated in here that I can take a look at. So this one is like the slash dev. It's one of our more popular ways of just exploring a code base, which I think is really, really compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More question, or actually more of a bit of an observation. AM typically loves to harp on how much of a hardcore dev he is, and still continues to write in VS Code, like we were just talking about maybe 30 minutes ago. I hailed from the ops side and transitioned slowly onto the dev side. So being empowered to leverage a tool like this to not slow down the pace of development when I'm actually in the IDE, but also to spare me needing to go grab the DBA to make sure that my SQL structure is correct, to make sure I don't have to go get an AppSec review, to make sure that I don't have to go and track down the individual feature or release owners for each of these disparate code bases that are being reviewed and compared against. That is a huge time savings. Just recently, I had to put together some T-SQL for some data warehouse queries that I had to get through to put into an app that I'm building, and just that act of trying to everybody 2-3 weeks easy.
Yeah, the whole so we know you're in lots of places wherever you need that information. Like what we've learned from generative AI in general is like you give it knowledge base, it can find what you need, and now it's like how do you harness that? One of the really interesting ones, talk about kind of tasks that no one's excited to do but they're stuck doing, is I think I had it over here. One of these projects, I think it was this one. I'm gonna have to remember where all my tabs were. We rolled out a version of our code transformation. Now I'm not gonna do the live demo, it takes about 30 minutes, but this project is a Java app. And we've talked to customers with thousands of like Java 8, Java 11 projects and stored in GitLab that they want to upgrade to 17. Turns out you can save a bunch of money because of the efficiencies of 17.
Yeah.
So what's cool about this is you can invoke this with Q transform, and it's looking for a Maven project. And what happens is Q comes back, does a couple things. It actually uses GitLab to run it just to make sure, builds any packages and pulls in any dependencies, uploads the code to our software development agent, and then comes back with a transformation plan, which is nice from like a record keeping thing. And in this one, I think it was about 30 minutes or so, comes back and actually opens a merge request. And what's so cool about this is I guarantee you, we're not writing as detailed a merge request. You've got lines of code that went through. How long did it take? Did we actually build it successfully as we did this transformation? And then what's really cool is here's what we actually did. Here's what it was on 8. Here's what it is on 17. Here's how we like bumped the dependencies, new files that we added, anything we deprecated. And it kind of gives you some next steps on how you could actually go a step further with this. This is the part that gets me excited, is like all of this code that no one wants to spend weeks on is here. And if we can give the right context to Q to kind of iterate and build on these, I think we can really help, especially as we hook this into the CI pipeline, get feedback on the builds and stuff. So yeah, whether it's, Adrian, what you're saying, whether it's like writing for a system you haven't touched in a while or like just maintenance, I think there's a lot of areas to help.
Let me pause you there for a second, Kyle. I want to hear from the audience as well.
Yeah.
Are you all using GitLab today? If you are, what are you looking forward to with this new integration? And I want to ask the audience also, what's your favorite part and least favorite part of a code review? Because code review takes a lot of time, but they're
answering
important.
Code review is an okay answer. That's a valid ask.
Yeah, I'd love to hear favorite and least favorite part of doing code reviews. So, Kyle, I wanted to ask too. It looks like a lot of this is taking place during the the code review stage, right? Is there anything with the Amazon Q integration here that bleeds over into the CI/CD? Like once I've got a commit in, is there anything that Q can do for me past that?
That's a good question. So where we're at today, we actually announced some pretty cool things at reInvent around troubleshooting and diagnostics and a lot of areas like that in the AWS console. And we're really interested in kind of bringing that in. Like we think like the troubleshooting a pipeline that's failed, being able to get AWS context. Right now, the extent that we're doing this is we're listening to pipelines. Like you can see here, we're running these pipelines and pulling it in and iterating on that. But there's a lot to do in that space specifically. Where we're focused right now is getting things to the MR and helping with the merge request experience.
Yeah.
But the pipeline, and that's an area I'd love to get some feedback on too. Let's take a look at that /dev that I added in here.
Yeah, you had to go
all right.
Create something new, right? Create a new feature.
Yeah. So this was add more support for languages.
Okay.
Let's see what it came back with. So, all right, we got something. So it's pretty cool about this software development agent is it will touch or create files as needed. So you can see it added a new test languages.py. It updated the game controller and the home controller. What's always fun is, all right, it looks like it ignored my make it 6 letters long. So that was annoying. But what's cool is I can say, you can actually leave inline comments like 6 letters max. And we want to make it really easy to sort of iterate. And so you can kind of kick that off again and it'll go and start making some changes. You can see it update the word service. Yeah.
Chat. Yeah. Somebody in chat, JibDab mentioned that their least favorite part is the code review. Like the whole thing, I think, is their least favorite part. Yeah.
It's 2 parts. You're either like going to get judged and you feel like you missed something, it's hard, or you have to judge someone. It's just socially, it's challenging. Code reviews are a time. Yeah.
So yeah, you left a comment, which is exactly how you would do this in, like, if you were doing a merge request in the real world with your team, right? You would leave a comment. So same kind of workflow, it seems like, for leaving a comment for Q.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see it did some nice things too. Like it added all of these new tests for here. It also updated this call and choose the picked language. It also added a default language. Like it's doing some pretty nice changes. I did tell it to make a change. It came back. Let's see if it actually listened. Yeah, and so now it's all 6 letters long. So you can see it fixed that.
Very nice. Very nice.
We're
close on time,
cool.
Kyle. I want to let you know. Just make sure we cover everything you want to cover. But do you have recommendations if I want to go out and get started with this today?
I would check it out. Yeah, this is a preview. Like I said, it's right now for Ultimate customers. We have a lot more coming, so you can track this at GitLab. They've got some links to this, but also just Amazon Q. Check it out. Everything I'm showing, the /review, all those features, we launched those at reInvent for the IDE as well. Really nice, also in your local environment. So you can run /review. It'll give you any findings. It'll even suggest fixes in your IDE. We want to put these tools wherever the developers are spending their time. So yeah, I would check out the Q extension and play around with it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, we had that actually on one of our segments during our live coverage at reInvent. Not in GitLab, obviously. We were in Visual Studio Code. This is what Adrian was talking to earlier. We saw the new .NET transformation in the Visual Studio Code experience.
Yeah. And so we have work to do to bring that again into GitLab and these other anywhere Q is. We want it to be a pretty consistent experience. So yeah,
for sure.
That's all I got.
That was a fun launch, I think, because I'm also a .NET dev, so it was really cool to see that.
That's huge. Yeah, the feedback on that's been amazing, as well as like we've had a lot of work to do over the last year, just getting Q to where we want to be, and it's been awesome to kind of see it starting to hit more use cases and people wanting what we're doing.
Super exciting, Kyle. I appreciate you coming. Sorry, Adrian, what were you going to say?
No, I'm just saying that, and that's what the best part is. We're getting people what they want as quickly as we can, and
yeah,
not going to stop. Awesome, great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the demo
Thanks for having
today,
me.
Kyle. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All
Wow.
right, Adrian, what do you think?
What do I think? I think code reviews are going to be a little bit less of a bore going forward for me and the groups that I'm working with and building out some of the apps we're building out for the Amazon Partner Org. Amazon Specialist and Partner Org, as we're called these days. So yeah, it's going to definitely speed some things up, especially with number one thing that I'm being asked with partners right now is to help them do SQL migrations faster, better, in a more timely fashion, help them find bottlenecks and help them find problematic queries. And I'm pretty sure that if I were to take all the junk I've written, I call it junk because it's of the absolute worst quality ever, before I get it to the real developers that can actually help me do things better in a smarter way. This is going to definitely speed things up, improve my quality of life, and certainly give the teams that are going to go out and build these things a better starting point to be at, to X off all the things that I know they're probably going to ask, and actually have a better life cycle for this application's development.
I love that it's just built right into the normal workflows too. That's huge for me.
No extra extensions, no extra downloads, managing AppSec's not going to come after me. It's going to be.
It made me laugh when you said that I am a hardcore developer because I'm using Visual Studio Code, which I think actually disqualifies me from being a hardcore developer.
Honestly, I don't, because the passion that you show, how you still continue to advocate, you're still using it every day, and you're willing to go toe to toe with anybody that tries to talk down to it. I think that qualifies you as being hardcore.
All right. I'll take it. Yeah. We've got a survey that we want you to fill out. Speaking of hardcore, we want you to give us some of your feedback. We love to hear from you because you all are how we shape the show. We are listening to you. Tell us what you want to learn, and then we try and incorporate that back into the show. So please fill out our survey. We'd appreciate it.
Greatly so. And don't forget that survey is exactly why we got to have that hot wing competition at reInvent between Jeff and our producer, Nick. If you can call it a competition, because I don't think Jeff broke a sweat. I don't think he actually even blinked once while he was
the champ. The champ.
The champ.
2024 hot wing champ. Do we want to talk to him, by the way?
If he can spare the time, I would love to.
I don't know. Maybe he's here.
We'll see.
All right. Good to see you both.
Likewise. Welcome back.
Yeah, it was wonderful to be all together at reInvent last week. Was that just a week ago?
It was, I think, about 6 years ago, but yes.
It definitely feels a lot longer. I mean, even just the 2 days of not walking 5 to 10 miles a day refreshed me entirely. I thought I was going to be a lot more beat by Monday, but by about 10 a.m. Monday, I was feeling back to normal.
Those intense events, like they do actually fade into the distance pretty quickly, but it was a blast, an absolute blast to be there and to do our live segment and to meet customers and audience members and fans and friends. Always fun, and colleagues.
I haven't met any fans of mine yet, Jeff, because there are none. But met with a lot of friends and a lot of. I met with a lot of AWS heroes while I was out there. By the way, those are some of my favorite people. Love hanging out with them.
Yeah. I actually spent a lot of time with the community in the community spaces as well, but totally fun. I'm ready for next year already.
Did you already start planning?
No, not a bit.
Okay.
Not other than I went to a bunch of parties, most of which were good. There was one I went to that I kind of had to work extra hard to get qualified for, and then I was like, yeah, it's okay. But other than that, I guess any party that would have let me in, you got to kind of question its.
I mean, the only thing I've got on my 2025 list so far to do is to get a selfie with buckets. I tried so many times. They are the absolute biggest celebrity on the floor. Could not pry them away for a hot second. So hopefully,
I managed to get that selfie, but I really want to know, like, is one of our colleagues actually buckets, or is this like a hired bucket? I guess I was a hired hand, but it's clearly a bucket. So
let me ask you this. Hold on. Let me ask you this.
Hired handle. That's what it is. It's a hired handle.
Have you ever seen me and buckets at the same place at the same time?
Actually, yeah, because Bucket was nearby while you were streaming.
I was trying to create some mystery, but you shot me down.
You're gonna have to try harder. And I've never seen you dance, AM, but Bucket was pretty good. So
The mystery is gone. The mystery was gone before it even started. Yeah, that's true.
indeed.
I guess you could say that was a bit of a bucket leak in that case.
Bucket leak, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I tried. So
So
what did
you're
you
saying that Bucket is on your bucket list?
Bucket is definitely on my bucket list.
Got it. Cool. Well, would you like some news?
Yeah, you
Would
got some
love
news
some.
for us, Jeff?
Awesome. All right. Well, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jeff Barr. I've been working at Amazon for 22 and a half years. And my favorite part of the week is hanging out here on Fridays with AM and Adrian. And what I do is I go through our most recent launches. I pick just a couple that catch my eye and share them. Even though reInvent just wrapped up a week ago, we've had a ton of launches since then. The first cool one is the F2 instances. So these are really neat because inside the F2 instances, there's this really neat piece of hardware called an FPGA, a field programmable gate array. And what this is basically a piece of hardware that can be programmed. So inside of each FPGA, there's like all the classic gates you might have learned about in like CS 101, AND gates and OR gates and NAND gates and exclusive ORs and so forth. So within these FPGAs, they can process massive amounts of data in parallel. So there's a bunch of kind of like really special purpose apps that we'll get to in a second. But just yesterday, we launched the F2 instances, which is our second generation of instances with FPGAs. And depending on the instance size you choose, there's either 2 or 8 of them inside. There's a really powerful AMD EPYC processor, 8 tebibytes of SSD storage, and 2 tebibytes of memory. Now, it's hard to kind of map the power or the scale of these FPGAs into something that I can kind of grasp. But each of on the bigger of the instance sizes, there are 8 FPGAs. Each one of them has 2.85 million logic cells, and then 9,024 digital signal processors inside. So the idea is you don't, unlike like a kind of a traditional CPU where you're doing things kind of sequentially, you try to use as much of the hardware inside of this FPGA as possible in parallel. So things like genomics or satellite communication or analytics, when you're doing satellite communication, you can actually, in real time, you could build an FPGA program that processes the waveforms coming in as it arrives, which is like kind of amazing when you think that you're like processing like signal comes in. Now, this is a fairly specialized kind of a thing. And by the way, I do have a blog post for this. Let me see if I can bring this up here. Yeah, I'm going to overlay my blog post right there. How's that for a cool special effect?
You've done it again.
Yeah. So there's a really specialized kind of a programming model, and you write in this kind of logic language, and you use simulators, and then when you're all set, you can create what's basically this kind of specialized machine image, which you can then upload to a bunch of F2 instances. And you can read my blog post as usual to learn more about that. That's our first cool thing. The next is I think a neat upgrade to Amazon Lex. So Amazon Lex, we've covered a bunch before. So it helps our customers to build voice and text conversational interfaces. And inside it uses some pretty cool stuff. It uses automatic speech recognition, and it uses natural language understanding. So you can build things like chat bots and apps that need some kind of a lifelike kind of interaction. Plugs into a whole bunch of different parts of AWS. You can do neat stuff like using Lambda functions to implement your business logic. None of this is actually new. It was all launched back in 2016 with a bunch of additions since then. But what is new is we've updated the speech recognition models to be even more accurate. So when you're calling into your chatbot and talking to it, if you want to share things that are primarily alphanumeric, like account numbers or confirmation numbers, serial numbers, and product codes, the new models have been trained to really be even better at those. And another cool thing is we trained it to be better when it is listening to a non-native speaker of a language and to people with a particular regional accent. So that's kind of neat that it's going to be better at listening to you and doing a better job of understanding what you're talking about. If you already have built some bots with Lex, all you need to do is rebuild to take advantage of these features, and we'll drop the traditional link in the chat. Kind of cold here in Seattle, actually, but I'll get to that. So it's not quite Polar Express cold, but kind of getting chilly here. So anyway, gotcha.
You gotta say You
Yeah.
really Krampus in my style here. Yeah.
Okay, last cool thing is resource groups. So again, these are not new. It turns out I wrote about them almost exactly 10 years ago today. And so the resource groups are neat because you can use them to create and maintain and basically like look at a collection of AWS resources with a common set of tags. So you want to track things by developer or team or project for operational use or billing. The resource groups can actually span across regions, and they can basically hold references to resources of a bunch of different types. None of this is new, but you can monitor the resources collectively. Things like lifecycle events get fired within the resource group. If you've got a resource group with a bunch of like instances and load balancers and stuff like that, when something happens, you can just say, listen to the resource group and get this kind of one collective place to know what's going on there. You can send those events to EventBridge and from there to Lambda, SQS, or SNS. You can use them in CloudWatch and the My Applications. Another neat thing you can do, and this is all just recap to get to the actual like new cool thing, is that a group can also be all of the stuff created by a particular CloudFormation task. So you launch something from CloudFormation and you want to actually say, where are all the pieces and how are they all doing? You can use the resource group. So the cool thing, let me pop this one up here. That one up, there we go, is that we've expanded the list of how many things that are now able to be part of a resource group. Let me scroll down this list here. Give me a second here to find that control here. Yes, that control. We have expanded the list. There's a really, really long list here. It would take me forever just to read it. There were more things in here that I can count, so I can't tell you how many total, but I can say that there are 405 more than ever before. So if you're Santa Claus and making that list and checking it twice, you got 405 more things you need to actually check off. So lots and lots of cool resource types you can put into your resource groups. That is actually about it for today. You can read the news blog. You can subscribe to the RSS feed for the what's new. You can follow me on LinkedIn, sitting here kind of quietly by myself today. Actually, literally home alone. So the way it goes sometimes.
Are you going to have a fresh cheese pizza all for yourself at the end of the day today, Jeff?
Oh, I totally could, except I'm living on this little island called Vashon Island outside of Seattle, and the pizza place doesn't open until the evening. So
Whoa.
Too bad.
Rock Island pizza, real good pizza, but it doesn't open until 4 o'clock. So, but my wife will be back by then, so maybe we can make dinner together. Anyway, let me hide my resource group so you can actually see me again there.
Yeah, you're covered up for a moment.
Yeah.
Right?
I really like that idea of the resource group. So you can very easily, at a high level glance, take a look at all the gremlins that are popping up and decide whether you're going to go and create a new batch of instances or resources to see if you can replicate the problem or isolate it out that way.
What happens if you feed a resource group after midnight, Adrian?
You never ever feed a resource group after midnight, let alone that or op person that's going to be working on that to fix it.
Never change your resources after midnight. Bad time to be paged, right?
Well, there's that one. Then there's no deploy on Friday, and then there's the holiday no deploy. What are the other unspoken rules?
Dumping water all over your laptop, that won't.
Yeah, don't spill stuff on your laptop.
Don't put water on anything compute related, really.
That's why I use virtual resources. It's hard to spill water onto an EC2 instance.
It's true.
Unless it's like an outpost rack.
Well, but I thought we were in the cloud, though.
Oh, no. Here we go.
I'm just saying, it's there.
All I can think about now, Jeff, is a nice and naughty list of AWS OnAir hosts. And I know which list I'm headed for.
Where do we put Nick?
Nick's the top of the naughty list for sure.
Yeah,
he didn't do all the things he was supposed to do.
He is trying really, really hard. I'd say he is like the Frosty the Snowman of everybody on the nice list. He just gets it, and bless his heart, he's doing a really, really good job.
Well, speaking of some additions, right? I think we need to evaluate some people on the list. We're going to be talking to the or the repost live people are going to be talking to you all in chat here for a little bit. I think it's time to figure out where they go, which list they go on. So let's give them a chance to.
Are you on the fence with the post?
I don't know. I need to see their performance first. And
I'm
then,
sorry. My family
saw the
is so
fence
tired of all my puns that this is the only place I'm allowed to use them. So
I don't remember anybody saying you had permission to use them here, Jeff. But you know,
it's not IAM rules. I have permission until you deny me.
Here we go.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's let the repost live team come in here so we can judge which nice or naughty list they end up on. How about that?
Either way, I'm sure they're going to die hard on their way down to.
Oh man.
There. Yep.
Hi, I'm Stephen Heverin, joining the AWS OnAir team for this exciting launch of GitLab Duo and Amazon Q Developer. I'm one of the hosts of AWS Repost Live series, where we dive deep into questions and use cases from the AWS Repost community. Please head over there today, sign up, and be part of our show. I think from the previous conversation, I'm fairly certain I'm going to be on the nice list. Kyle, thanks for joining us and staying on to continue the discussion. Remind the audience who you are.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me. I like that sequel. And yeah, hey everyone. I'm Kyle. I'm with the Amazon Q team. We just did an awesome. Well, I'm not going to speak to that. I just did a demo. You might think it was good or bad of GitLab, but focus more broadly just on the Q product and how we're kind of helping developers build.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle, for staying on and continuing with us. Before we jump into the question we had from the repost community, we had another question come up earlier in this session today. We're streaming from one of the users on Twitch. So we put it in to repost and ask the question, is there a summary page of all the changes or a way to scan for the whole commit at once? And we had a repost agent on there answer. It didn't know the answer, but I like that it did a promo for our repost live show, which was fantastic.
That was great.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great. We've got the agent promoting the show for us as well. So that's fantastic. But the answer that we got from the users here, and I popped it in here, is with that /Q, right, Kyle? It's review quick action on the merge request, and it's going to scan all the changes in the merge request here. And actually, let me actually share out my screen.
Yeah,
there we go. Okay, now you can see the actual question and the promo the agent's doing for our repost live show, and then there's the answer. So but we do have a question from a member in our repost community, from Sam, on asking how they can use Amazon Q to accelerate product development, right? We've looked at GitLab Duo with Q Developer and kind of how that can enable cross-team, cross-enterprise kind of enablement for development. But as a developer kind of getting started, either in a startup or maybe part of a small team, what can the developer do in terms of coming up to speed here on learning Amazon Q and Q Developer that's really going to help them lead them into then being able to leverage GitLab Duo and Q with that as well?
Yeah, it's a really great question. It's also one, I mean, we see this versions of this always. Q and in general, these generative AI assistants are so new. It's like everyone knows there's probably something there, but like, what is there? How do I use it? One of the things I do encourage is just like playing, trying, like exploring. And I can show you some of the stuff we're doing, in the product. I'm reading this question as a developer. What I showed earlier is likely tightly related to if you're trying to do this from like a product management. You've got a backlog, right. You want to take an issue and take it to a merge request to kind of explore. But if you're trying to speed up feature development in your local environment, I think a lot of it comes down to understanding the context of the project, what are the limitations, and then where these agents are so powerful and where LLMs are so powerful is just understanding and kind of making relationships between that. So Yeah, I think where we see this happening most as an individual developer, given that I just talked a little bit earlier about the more team collaborative space, is really just getting the extension into your IDE and letting this go loose. So
Just
I can give you a
start
look at
using
some of
it,
those
right?
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and we've got the link to the workshop here, which will drop in the chat
Yeah.
for you to check out. But Kyle, I think you also have a demo that might help Sam kind of get started and understand this a little more, right?
Yeah, so the workshops are great, and again, I play with that, but I'll just show you sort of a version of the workshop, which is basically I'm just in my IDE, zoomed in to the point where I'm almost useful. But we have a new, the best place to start with this, check out the Amazon Q extension. This is the thing, you can install it, it's free to use, you can sign up with a builder ID. If your team sponsored it, you can, we have a pro tier too, but even just on that, you can ask things like, just, we've got this really nice command, which is like at workspace, which says like, just taking all this, it's like at workspace, tell me about this project and the technology used. It, understanding where you are in the world, like that's, oh boy, that should have worked. Well, that's why we do.
And that's why we do things live, and it tends to happen. So this that workspace command is going to scan, is looking at whatever repo that you've got open there in your IDE already, right?
Yeah, it is, and I'm trying to figure out why it's ignoring my pages that I have opened. But anyway, you know how it goes.
That's the nature. Yeah, that's the nature of live demos here. And I can say there's a lot of times as well. I walk into some projects and stuff, and I'll say they haven't been documented or covered in the best.
That's right.
AR is you didn't do the demo dance, dude. That's the that's you didn't
So
you
right.
didn't make the
That was it.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to ignore that and just move forward with other things that I know works. One of the I mentioned this earlier. So one of the big areas is like just getting unblocked. I think we talked about documentation.
Yes.
Another one that I mentioned this in the GitLab review, but I really love this integration in the IDE, which is, hey, go through this whole project and just take a look at it. Give me a review of what's happening here. And this is one of the new agents we released. What it's doing is it's looking at dependencies, code quality, anything like that. And it's an area where if maybe you're not an expert in this code and you want to, like I'm a TypeScript developer, but maybe I've got a Python backend and I've made some errors. This is an area to kind of get up to speed on that. I'll let that run for a little bit. And then the other one is, literally from how do we accelerate project. Actually, my review came back already. Let's take a look.
And Tier 4 was saying that they use that command all the time, so at least it's working for them today.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'll just say like a really cool area is, hey, look, this exception, this is a pretty generic expression. What we can do now is, it's following kind of common weaknesses, detectors, all that stuff. It'll actually go ahead and generate a fix for you. And if you like that, you can just accept it and it'll make the change in the code for you as a diff. And what I love about that is it helps you go faster. You might catch something and it's not just telling you did something wrong, but it's actually telling you how to like maybe make it a little bit better. So that's one area.
And I need people to tell me that I did something wrong all the time. So
that's right.
This would be very helpful to automate that.
And just getting it like safe, like in a safe space. It's like I can learn about it here.
It's not judging me, it's just correcting me.
That's right. The other one that I think I'll highlight is just, I talked about this in the GitLab world, but from a developer standpoint, this is truly why we build this /dev command and we're bringing it everywhere, is how can you build stuff faster? So here, like this is a prompt we use. This is a voting an app that's pretty common that we use to demo out of, but it's like, just add a new route for votes and make sure it's password protected. It's doing a lot of different things. You're going to fire this off, and what will start to happen is Q is now able to kind of work alongside of you and start making changes. It'll start looking at files and updating everything. You can kind of set that to the side. The other area you can use this, I'll come back to as it's running. We also just released this update, which I wanted to highlight for folks, is this really cool new inline. So you can just describe what you want to do, which is add a new route for let's say Olive Garden. And what this is doing is Q actually starts working in line, taking in the project context of everything you're doing. And what I love about it is you can just accept or reject directly from here. And it's just easy, kind of just work through it. And having this diff and having this
Right.
always available with Command I is just, it's a really nice way to sort of interact with these agents and LLMs as you're writing code. So those are some of the ways we're trying, constantly exploring kind of how to add more Q prompts and make it just a little more like at your fingertips as you're going. And while I'm doing all this, you can see over here, this guy's just cranking away, reviewing my code, creating a new template, and going on there. Yeah.
So, but it's still generating under that control. So you can still say, I want to accept this. I don't want to take this.
Yeah.
You still have that control to kind of pick and choose. But again, it's doing a lot of that, I think, heavy lifting for you. And you can focus on, okay, what is it that I need to get done here? And I think as Tierford mentioned, yeah, I myself am trying not to sound like one of those cranky old devs that's like, oh, in my day, we used to kind of code both ways uphill, kind of thing. So,
well, a good one, I think, even if for the cranky, I don't think anyone's going to complain that this exists. So we have this new /test.
Yes.
And what's super cool is if you just run this, it's just going to look through your entire project. It's going to try to identify this test.app.py. It actually got generated earlier on this one. And it's going through and creating, I think this ended up being a couple hundred lines of, 700 lines of code of just,
wow,
here's how we're going to test this. I don't think anyone's complaining about not having to write this code anymore. So there is areas where I think even if you walked uphill both ways writing code, this can help a little. But yeah, so we're exploring ways just like what are common tasks that are repetitive that our devs don't want to do, or where can we help you get unblocked as you think about product development? That's the other big piece.
Right. And I think, for me, it's just, there's a lot you have to generate, right? You have to do a lot of unit tests. You have to build a lot of that scaffolding and that structure in here. And this is just really speeding that part up to get you to where I can focus on what I need to write, what I need to do and get done. What's that next feature, next functionality that we need to get out the door, right? I'm able to do that faster.
And if you're prototyping, like I've talked to a lot of customers where they've used this to sell an idea internally or get inspiration. Here, this put together, a new page. This votes HTML. The /dev came back, got everything I need in here. It updated the app to actually have a password. Nice. I can tell it things now. I can continue to go I provide feedback. I can say use a better password. And you just kind of iterate through. And again, we're trying to make these work alongside these agents and these AI capabilities alongside you. I love these diff views, the ability to see what's being changed, giving you kind of control and keeping the developer in the loop. So yeah,
right.
Lots going on. Yeah.
And it looks like you can just continue to oh, well, here, I really meant this, and give it a small correction. It's like, okay, let me go back and fix that and incorporate that. And I think in the previous segment as well, you were like, oh, here, let me generate 6 characters. That's all I wanted in that previous example, right? And it's like, oh, okay, I'll shorten that for everything that you want me to do. So I think it's absolutely, if you're there, for one, I'll say, Sam, I hope we answered your question. We'll post a link to this show segment here for you to your question. Thanks for that. And, go out there, give it a try. It's easy to get set up, easy to get using there in your IDE. So you want to be able to kind of let's just go in, start doing it, start playing around with it, right? Give it a try on some smaller projects, and you'll be amazed, I think, really, as I've been, how quickly that's going to really kind of start. You're going to be excited. Like if you were hard at it before, I think this will get you excited to really dig in to do more and more development. So any last thought there from you, Kyle, before we move on?
Yeah, just refer. These are new. It's new tech. It's new ways of thinking about it. Use these to your advantage. Get inspiration where you can. You got to write a bunch of test function. You need demo code. Tell it, hey, I need 500 JSON strings that look like this, and it's just ways that you can just go faster, mocking up things. So yeah, explore it. It's pretty fun.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Be sure to head over to repost AWS to sign up using your AWS account ID or builder ID and start expanding your AWS cloud knowledge to there today. While you're there, go follow our repost live tag to stay up to date with any of our upcoming shows. Until next time, happy building.
Video transitions we've got
I
now.
know.
It's
Too fancy.
blowing my mind here.
They've been nice. No more reindeer games. We're just getting right into high production value.
Oh man.
Wow. Adrian, to me, you are perfect. Anyway, I wanted to say this with Kyle earlier, but we ran out of time. I was just using Amazon Q Developer for some stuff we're building here at the end of the year, and so I very famously said this many times. Mostly a .NET developer. I've done some JavaScript, and I have to write a lot of Python for the job I'm in right now, and I'm not a Python dev. So one that Q did for me, which was really interesting. I was working with it with some code and got a suggestion from it to make my code more Pythonic, which is like a big deal in the Python world. Like making your code Pythonic is very important to Python developers. So it even is doing things like that. Like not necessarily, there wasn't anything like syntactically or logically wrong with my code. It was just a suggestion, be like, hey, this is like more Pythonic. If a Python developer looked at it, they wouldn't think that, you know, some C# developer was trying to write Python. So I thought that was really cool. Something really interesting I experienced myself with Q Developer. We gotta plug our survey again before we get out of here. Right. So if we could pull up, there we go. You all can tell us what you want to see on this show. That's what we like to hear about. You can also tell us what you'd like more or less of. I'm thinking breadsticks more, right?
Yeah.
We need more breadsticks.
With some kind of dip, though.
What dip would you go with, Jeff?
Okay, so a breadstick is kind of like a pretzel, except it's like not soft and it's kind of like just unrolled. But I don't know, some like gooey cheddar cheese.
Okay, Adrian.
If I had to make it, it would be like a really nice, super thick ragu with 2 or 3 different types of meats and like maybe 3 or 4 types of cheese. Lots of coarsely chopped veggies in there. Almost make it like salsa, basically, like an Italian salsa.
Yeah, but there's not enough adhesion to the breadstick. No. That's why you got to go for something that's like got some proteins in it that sticks to the bread. No. Otherwise, you got to use the bread like a scoop, so that it's kind of like there's some deep issues there. Marinara is great, but it's just not the thing for.
It doesn't stick. You're right.
You're always like thinking there must be a right way to do this, and there actually isn't. One of those really frustrating things.
It is. It's kind of why my son's taken to dipping it in either Alfredo or, as he's recently learned, even just mixing it around. If we go to the aforementioned restaurant, mixing it around in the salad bowl and getting some of that wonderful dressing on it. He seems to like it.
Okay, that's pretty
what
smart.
happens when you ask a bunch of engineering-minded people like what to dip a breadstick. They're like, well, you got to think about the tensile factor of the breadstick, and you know, start.
If we're talking like zero gravity, then maybe it'd be slightly different, right?
Yeah, the adhesion factor I see was mentioned.
Okay, that's actually fascinating. Like how many interesting things that are like really difficult to eat that you would end up like. I always end up like wearing something really nice, and that first time with the breadstick and the sauce. It's like, there it goes. There goes that shirt, right? So, but what would be like more practically zero gravity?
I don't know. Look, my sauce of choice, I'm going with pudding. Just because I'm more of a chaotic.
Wow,
I'm
that's
like a
chaotic
QA
evil
engineer.
straight up, just all the way.
Huh.
All right, we gotta. When I dip, you dip, we dip. I'm brought back to all of the 8th grade dances.
Would you dip chicken wings in pudding?
I don't eat chicken, so I don't have to worry about it. That's why I wasn't invited. I think I don't eat birds.
Interesting. We got to dig in on that, if provided that we survive Christmas. So we'll get there.
Yeah. We are moving, by the way. Speaking of surviving these holiday seasons.
I didn't get that memo. Where are we going?
Well, Jeff, we're all moving in with you. I hope you got room. We were told you've got plenty of space. I'll take a floor. I don't even need a couch.
We got floor.
Okay, perfect. No, we're as a show moving over to, if you've been watching us on twitch.tv/AWS OnAir, you won't find us there soon after the new year. You will find us on twitch.tv/AWS. So we are
awesome.
moving.
Is this kind of like moving on up to the big time?
I guess so. Did you rent the U-Haul? I think that's the most important part. Jeff, you were supposed to get the U-Haul. Oh my God! I didn't
get that memo either.
Oh wow!
In my slacks.
Well, Nick does like to drive, so we can make him pull it.
That's true. It makes more sense for Nick to get the U-Haul. I think he's a road tripper.
Maybe pick us up on the way.
Give away all your stuff and just buy something fresh in your new location. Actually.
Wow!
What a Grinch! What a Grinch!
Okay. Well, I think we got to get out of here. I think we have overstayed our welcome, but it's been fun hanging out with you two and with our guests and the Repost Live people, and of course, hanging out with the audience who I like to hang out with the most. No offense to you all on screen, but
none taken.
You all are close second. You're runners up. All right. So check us out. Move over to the twitch.tv/AWS. Got that survey for us, and catch us next Friday. We'll be back on next Friday,
the 20th.
We'll have more for you then.